this off is talking about football, college football, and one of our favorite guys in here because he knows what it's like to be a broadcaster and a football coach, Lobos head coach Bob Davie, and of course Lawrence Gilligan to his side. Coach, been a little while since we talked to you.
Long time. I'll tell you what an amazing bowl season. First of all, just every bowl game seemed to me, particularly the BCS bowl games, seemed to be outstanding and just incredible athletes. Incredible offenses, incredible execution, and really close games. So, you kind of hate to see it end, even though the pro football thing still keeps going. I don't know about you guys, but I always feel a little bit of an empty feeling when the college football season ends.
Oh, yeah. Well, speaking of which, it's the college football season has ended, but it didn't end for you guys as far as going out and recruiting and stuff like that. And signing days coming up, and you got all these recruits in mind. How is that going? How do you feel about what you're probably going to get on signing day?
Yeah, it's been an active period for us. Since we played up at Boise, the last game of the season. First of all, we lost a couple coaches on the defensive side of the ball. Then the recruiting process is in full swing. The moment the Boise State game was over, we had 2 or 3 active weeks of recruiting, coaches out on the road, plus prospects coming in on weekends. Then they kind of shut the recruiting down over the holidays, over the bowl season. The NCAA football convention is this coming weekend in Indianapolis. And then the active out recruiting, bring players in starts back up next Thursday, a week from yesterday. So, it's going. I think you get a good feel of where you are as a program from the kind of coaches you're able to hire. And certainly we've been out looking for coaches, interviewing coaches, and really have that thing done. We're not in a position right now to just announce because there's a little bit of a procedure you have to go through before you can do that. But we're attractive to coaches, and there's also a pretty good buzz as far as the recruits. So that's how you judge, the type of people you're able to bring in, either coaches or players.
What's that challenge like, bringing in coaches, or what's that process like? Because it's kind of hard to part ways with coaches and then try to fill the void and get the new blood in that you want to be here for years.
Yeah, it's hard. It's really the downside of coaching, quite honestly, and it's become, you guys follow it pretty close. I mean, you see how many changes there are. It can happen in a moment's notice without knowing it's coming. We had one coach, Jeff Mills, that I had to make a change with the defensive coordinator position, the secondary position. That was really hard for me to do. I got tremendous respect for Jeff, one of the smartest, hard-working guys that I've ever been around. It certainly wasn't his fault that we ended up in the situation we ended up in on defense, but I just had to make the move. And then we lost Coleman Hutzler to the University of Florida, where I hired Coleman from. Coleman had been a GA at Florida for Urban Meyer and Will Muschamp. We got 2 good years out of Coleman Hutzler with our special teams, our outside linebackers, and he had the opportunity of a lifetime. So, changes come in different ways. Sometimes they come kind of from a negative standpoint. Sometimes they come from a positive standpoint, as a Coleman Hutzler getting a chance to go to a place like Florida. But change is difficult. But also I've got a renewed enthusiasm. We spent all this week interviewing coaches. We've had coaches in here all week. I've made the decision on who the staff will be, and it re-energizes you a little bit to bring coaches in, get back on that blackboard, talking X and O's, hearing different ideas. So, it's kind of it's kind of an exciting time, really.
Do you think you can give us a little hint on maybe the kind of scheme that maybe you're looking for in a coach,
sure.
Because, obviously you want something in particular.
Yeah, no, that's a fair question. That's a great question, and after going through it all and being in this game for a long time, it's not as much as fans think that it's what you play. It's truly how you play it and who you play it with. And I am not going to flinch in that our schemes are our schemes. So we're not going to dramatically change on defense. That would be crazy for us to do that. We have really last year invested totally in this scheme. What we need to do is take what we did last year and do it better not change. You know, you guys have both played. You know, you don't change and all of a sudden start doing different things. You get better at what you're doing. So we have to tweak it. We can coach better, we can play better, but we're not going to make dramatic changes. It's just not fair to these kids to do that.
And some of those new coaches you brought in, I know the announcement has not been out, and you can't say their names, but how do you think they're going to fit in? And when you were making your decisions, what was attractive and appealing?
Yeah, well, it's interesting how things work. Actually, both new coaches that I think will end up being on the staff here are coaches that I tried to hire 2 years ago when I came here. You know, right off the bat, these are guys that I went after, and for different reasons, I couldn't get it done. I couldn't get them here to Albuquerque, and now 2 years later, I'm able to do it. And it's two coaches that are born and raised in the system that we run. So there's no transition at all. It's only doing, again, what we do better with fresh ideas and different maybe tweaks. So it's really kind of come full circle, you know, and I tell you this, the two coaches coming in here are in a different situation than the four coaches that walked in here 2 years ago. You know, it's a little bit better situation as far as the roster and just kind of the overall dynamics of the program.
You know, looking at that roster and looking at the red shirts, we were talking about this when we were just in the office recently about how some of those red shirt guys walked out there. Some of those guys look good, man, you know, physically. And so now you're going to be able to put those guys in the program into what you're doing here. Is it like climbing again, going up? Or?
Yeah, it is. And, you know, it's kind of, I talked to Kirk Ferentz at the University of Iowa last week. And, you know, Iowa, when Kirk first started at Iowa, it was really down. He went 3 or 4 years there where, I mean, they didn't win a game and turned that program into what it is now. And he, you know, used the phrase, keep pounding the rock. So whatever you say, it is being diligent of just keep swinging, keep doing the same things. And it is about building the roster. And we do have some young guys. I was sitting here this morning with one of the coaches that we brought in to interview, you know, watching the Boise State game. And at one point in that game, there were 6 freshmen on that field on defense against Boise in that last game. Now, you pay a price for that. And we paid the price for that. And so did those freshmen. But at some point, if you just keep doing what you're doing, you also get the rewards from that. So it's the same with the redshirt players. You know, it's not like we're sitting here right now and just say, well, our roster problems are solved. But we're getting closer. We're getting closer to getting this thing back to what it's supposed to look like.
How about signing some of those JUCO guys, you know, at the linebacker? I think there was one from Laney College out of California, which is pretty good for football. But what's it like having the JUCO transplants come in, especially on the defensive side of the ball?
You know, I think you have to be careful. You know, I think there's certainly a place for the junior college players, particularly in our situation where we are pretty young and inexperienced. But also, how do you ever build a solid foundation and program if every 2 years those players are coming and going, you know? So you still have to make sure at the core of your program, it's the high school players that are going to be here 4 or 5 years, like those red shirts you're talking about. You know, I use Utah State, for example. Their offensive line, or Colorado State, let's use that example. Their offensive line was 4 fifth-year senior starters and 1 fourth-year junior starter. And that was Colorado State's offensive line. Boise, I think 18 of the 22 starters for Boise were redshirt players. So, again, being in the program for a long time is still the ultimate answer to build it. So the junior college player, as much as you think that's a quick fix, Brett Bowers comes in here, starts for us immediately last year. But Brett Bowers, it's his senior year. Rashad Rainey came in. Played 2 years for us, but Rashad Rainey's gone now. You know, so the Dakota Cox now, who starts as a true freshman, the Donnie White, the Nick DeVonzo, I.B. Brown, Jaden Boatwright, those guys that play as freshmen, but they have 3 more years. That's the answer for the long-term success.
Go ahead. Well, and you looking at long-term success and stuff like that, and I want to talk about the quarterback position. It's Cole. How's Cole doing? And what are you thinking there as far as are you guys adding any more at that position or anything like that? Or?
Yeah, you have to. You know, I saw where Rich Rodriguez, the head coach at the U of A, was talking about how he gets the coaches there kid him all the time, the assistants on the staff, because he coaches the quarterbacks. He loves to stockpile quarterbacks. You know, in the systems like we're in, where the quarterback runs the ball, you have to have a lot of quarterbacks on that roster, and we're building to that. So Cola is obviously coming back. It's been he's been cleared completely. Again, it's always going to be a concern because of the injury situation, some of the things that have happened. Clayton Mitchum is coming back, who I thought played pretty good in the Boise game. Fresno, none of us played very good, but he started the last 2 games of the year for us, Clayton Mitchum. He's a kid that just came up, but again, he's a junior college player. He's a senior now all of a sudden. He just got here. And then we have the 2 redshirt freshmen that we think we're excited about. David Vega is back. David Vega actually broke his foot in the Boise game, had surgery on his foot, but he's back. And then I think we'll probably take 2 high school quarterbacks.
And up front, your defensive line, I know that you guys were thinking about getting some guys up front. Are you looking more for size or speed or?
You got it. We're all looking for both those things. Everybody's looking for the same things. You know, I'm excited. You know, Patron Hightower's a young guy that's back, coming off a redshirt year. Big Sam Mabani, we redshirted last year. We've got 2 guys there that have the length. You know, the long, athletic guy. And then the guys that are back that played, you know, obviously Nick DeVonzo's back. William Uday, both true freshmen that played last year. Brett Bowers is back. So, you know, slowly but surely we're starting to develop a little bit. But, you know, in recruiting, just like every other school in the country, those defensive linemen are a premium to find.
And I guess, how about that senior class, you know, Dylan Farrell, Casey Carrier, I guess the list kind of goes on and on. Losing those guys and trying to replace those guys, you know, what is that like?
Yeah, I mean, that's what college football is. You know, Dallas Boleman was in here today. Dylan Farrell was in here. Ja'Cory Greer I had actually sit in today and yesterday with one of the coaches, 2 of the coaches that we brought in for an interview, and actually had the coach take Ja'Cory like he was a freshman and just take him through his techniques from A to Z, then watch tape for him. But those guys are around here all the time. But Daryl Johnson is in here. We lose some good players. There's no question about that. But you look around this league, there's a lot of people that lose a lot of good players. You know, there's some young players, underclassmen, look like they've declared for the NFL draft in this league. Some offensive players that's pretty good news for me, quite honestly. You know.
Sure. Yeah, and I guess how about the bowl season when it comes to the Mountain West? Were you surprised at the outcome, or were you thinking that that's how it was going to be? Fresno State losing to USC like that, but teams like San Diego State winning and things like that.
Yeah, I tell you, I think overall, I think people can see what Colorado State is. You know, Colorado State came in here and had 600 yards offense on Washington State. And that was an incredible game. It seems like this New Mexico Bowl every year is just an incredible game. I was surprised Fresno got beat like they did by USC, quite honestly. Utah State, to me, is a physically talented team. They beat Northern Illinois really pretty handily. So I think you look at this league, I mean, it is I guess it used to be really a basketball league maybe. I think it's a better football league right now. As I look at this league from top to bottom, I know Craig Neal might he might argue with me, but right now, just to me, it's a football league. I mean, there's some good football teams in this conference, and some really good quarterbacks, and some really good offenses.
Well, I wanted to add, before we got out of here, I wanted to ask you also, going back to the coaches. You know, your special teams were great. Yeah. I mean, you had with Carlos Wiggins, what he was doing, and then the punting situation, the game being a game of inches, and Scare would always pin those guys back. So with the coach that you're bringing in to replace Coleman Hutzler, do you think you'd be able to get that kind of same result?
Yeah, I'm not gonna replace Coleman with someone from the outside. Our system is our system, really, in all 3 things: offense, defense, and special teams. What I'm going to do is promote someone within the staff to be the special teams coordinator, and we won't skip a beat. I mean, I'm not changing one thing other than tweak some things with our special teams. So, I think within that is our strength. I think our offense is what our offense is, and will only get better. Our special teams is what it is, and only get better. And then the defensive piece is not as far along as those other two, but it's still going to be within the same framework because you have to stay the same to get better.
Spring football, you're looking forward to that.
You got to love it. You got to go recruit first now. We got a lot of recruiting to do, but I appreciate you guys. Thanks for coming back.
There you have it, Coach Bob Davie, Lawrence Gilligan to the side. Lawrence, you're done, right? Yeah. So we're officially out of here. Robert Pugsley behind the camera. We'll see you next time.